Devin, intro the video.
What did we just go see, Wade?
I don't know. What did we see? I asked you to intro the video.
We went to go see the newest Christopher Nolan film, fucking Tenet.
I thought you were going to forget the name for a second.
No, I know what it is. Tenet. Same forward as backwards. Tenet.
I did notice that.
It's on purpose.
That's fun. Yeah, I know. That's fun.
And we're going to talk about whether it's good or not.
All I have for you is a word. Tenet. It'll open the right doors, some of the wrong ones too.
What are your initial thoughts coming out? We literally just got back.
Yeah.
So this is our initial thoughts review. Whatever.
My initial thoughts. At first, my experience was kind of hindered because the plot. This movie is sort of a slow burn. It's 2.5 hours, much like most of his fucking movies. But the plot didn't really there was a lot of the movie where I didn't know what was happening. And I thought I missed something, or I blacked out, or I just missed a line of dialogue where they were like, oh, we gotta go do this and blah blah blah. But then towards the middle, they sort of it almost felt like Christopher Nolan knew that the audience was gonna do that.
Right.
So then he had to kind of re-explain what was going on towards the middle. And towards the middle, I figured out all right, I get it.
I was gonna say
some little small things that maybe I didn't quite pick up, but for the most part, I understood what happened, and I, followed it from that point on. And from that point on, it was really good.
It was great. But I was gonna say, did you think Nolan did that intentionally? He was like, I'm just gonna throw
I
all this
maybe.
into the film in the beginning,
because it kind of reminded me of The Prestige a little bit, where The Prestige starts with scenes in the future. Because he likes all that time warping stuff, and then as you're going along, you're like, oh, that happened first, and that connects to that. So maybe he did that first, or maybe he did that intentionally. I don't know, probably because that's what he does. I will say though that for a movie that is about time, it doesn't have a lot of scenes like that where it starts in the future and then goes back.
Yeah.
It's very
it's very linear.
There's a line from start to finish. Which I thought was kind of.
I don't think it ever jumps back and forth. Honestly, it just kind of goes in the.
Technically, yeah.
You're following the same version.
Yeah.
Of a character. Throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, which is really fucking cool.
It is.
And I loved all the performances except for Kenneth Branagh, the villain. I thought there was a couple moments where he was hamming it up like a motherfucker.
I thought he was great, honestly. I thought he did the perfect amount.
He had the weakest performance in the movie for me.
I think he had the perfect amount of sinister effect to him. When he started, I can't say because I guess that's a spoiler. But when he started doing some stuff, I was like, Jesus, we're not sponsored. I was like, Jesus, this guy he is a bad dude.
I don't know.
And that's what he was going. He's a bad dude.
For most of it though, he was kind of. He just kind of whispers like this most of the time, and then every now and then he'll just be like, he'll pull a Michael Shannon and just get fucking really loud.
I thought it was great.
That's Kenneth Branagh's a classically trained actor. That's what you bring to the fucking table, Kenneth Branagh.
That was great.
Really?
That was great.
I don't know.
Because those moments where he gets loud,
I didn't like his performance.
Terrified me. I was like, shit, he's about to fuck something.
I would have laughed in his fucking face if he did it.
Nah, he was the kind of.
Because there was a moment towards the middle when he's got that table just full of guns and shit, where he's just screaming at Elizabeth Debicki, and I'm like, this feels really goofy. I was like, I don't know, just his accent that he was using and just the way he was saying it. I was like, this is really goofy.
It doesn't focus on him too much.
It doesn't, which is good. And I also I love John David Washington.
He's fucking fantastic.
He was such a good leading man. He's got sort of a monotone sort of quality, but at the same time he's kind of he's got some a swag to him and a charm to him. It's really weird. I've never seen anyone with that before. Where he can be monotone, but at the same time you're like, this guy's cool as fuck.
Right.
And there was that one scene where he beats up a bunch of guys and he walks out of the building and he just adjusts the suit. I'm like, if this dude is British, he'd be an amazing James Bond. Because that's such a James Bond thing to do, and I love him.
He did phenomenal in the action and in.
Oh yeah.
I feel like he did. I don't know how much of the stunts and stuff
he probably had to do a lot of it.
But based on what I was seeing, I could see his face for some of it. So he did a really good job.
This is definitely Nolan's best action by far.
For sure.
Because that's usually Nolan's weakness.
It's mind-boggling how this action scenes are in these movies.
That's usually his biggest thing in all of his movies. Like, if you go back and watch the Dark Knight trilogy, a lot of the action scenes aren't great.
No, they're not like
especially in Batman Begins, where you can't see what the fuck is happening.
Yeah, they're not premium action.
This one, it seems like he's finally gotten to a point where he's like, all right, I wouldn't say it's like amazing, but it's definitely to a point where I can see what's happening. I can see what's going on.
I don't even think it was that. He may have just brought in like an assistant director that was a good action.
Maybe he did, and that's probably the best thing that he could have done.
Yeah,
he should have did that 15 movies ago.
You just handle the action, I'll do the storytelling type thing.
Yeah.
Which he probably had to, just because of how freaking insane some of the action scenes are.
Yeah.
Not like they're big and extravagant or anything, but just how they're sequenced and set up. It's insane. I don't even know how they do it.
It's definitely better than the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
Speaking of Batman, how did you feel about Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson was great.
I thought he was great. I don't think he was in the movie enough.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to see a little bit more of him. Because for
like
the perfect amount, he kind of just disappears. Like, there's a big chunk in the middle where he's just, like, not in it.
Yeah, but that's when we're, like, finding out information about
I guess, but I want to see him.
Yeah.
Because I love Robert Pattinson, and I want to see him in everything.
He did a good job for, I guess, the minimal amount of part. He
did great, and it was weird to hear him use his actual accent.
Yeah, which he doesn't get to use often.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever used it in a movie.
So yeah,
which is really fun. And him and John David Washington had such a good like rapport and chemistry with each other. I'm like, these fucks. Make a Rush Hour remake with these fucks. Like these two.
Like a buddy cop thing.
Yeah, do a Lethal Weapon. If you're gonna remake Lethal Weapon, get these two, all right? And I thought Elizabeth Debicki did a really good job. I think I'm pronouncing her name right. I think how it's pronounced.
For me, her performance was the least.
Really, I thought she was really good. I think her performance was great, but I think her character was a little lacking.
Maybe that's
more in the writing stage than her necessarily. Because I thought for what she was given, she did a really good job. I just think her character was, because for most of it, she doesn't really do a whole lot.
Right, she just kind of is there. Yeah, through most of the film. I'm trying to think of anything that we can talk about.
How'd you feel about like the visuals and the music?
There wasn't
and the score.
Okay, the score. I just mentioned it before we started recording. I love the score. I know you didn't think it was like.
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. There was a lot of Inception bombs in it. And I thought he went. I was like, it almost to me, it felt like Chris Nolan being like, "Fuck you for making fun of that. I'm just gonna keep throwing it in this fucking movie left and right." But I thought the music was good. I like the music.
Maybe it was just because on the parts that I liked, I remember it, but I'm sure there were parts in it that I didn't like that I probably just don't remember as much. Yeah. But the parts that were good in the score were great, I thought. So yeah, like they fit just really well.
And I love it. It kind of had this like sci-fi tinge to it a little bit, where it felt like a sci-fi movie score, and I was like, that's fucking.
Kind of felt like a mixture of Inception and Interstellar. Honestly, it was like a little mixture.
That's kind of the perfect way to describe it.
That's how I would think of it.
That's like the best. Yeah, totally. Hell yeah.
Did the same people do those movies?
I'm not sure who composed. Usually Hans Zimmer composes like all of Christopher Nolan stuff. I don't know who composes. Who's my phone? I don't know where my phone is. Look it up.
I don't know how to pronounce that. Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh fuck! He did the Black Panther score.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, which I actually really love the score of Black Panther. He's a really solid composer.
Oh, Hans Zimmer was gonna do it, but he committed to Dune instead.
Fuck Dune. Dune actually looks really good. I'm kind of excited for.
We're not talking about Dune.
That trailer looked really good.
We're talking about Tenet.
That trailer before this was really good.
But also speaking of sound, we talked about this on the way back. There was some terrible fucking. I don't even know what he was called.
I'd say it's probably sound mixing.
There was some terrible sound mixing.
Everyone's voice was lower than the. Because Nolan does this. He needs to stop doing this. All right, you're a genius, but stop. He does this fucking thing in every movie where the music is like the loudest fucking thing in the scene, and then he'll have like aircrafts going and like all the like the background noise, and then people just like talking a normal
whisper,
and then they have like shit on their face to muffle their voice already, and they're just talking like this, and it's like, what the fuck are you saying?
Yeah, there was some definite where they wear oxygen gear and like when they're speaking through it, it's terrible. And then there's another scene where they're speaking through glass, and I literally had no idea.
I had no fucking idea
what they were saying.
I was like, is he speaking English right now? Like, what the fuck?
I don't know.
Quit fucking mixing your movies like this, Nolan.
Does he even like? Does he have like? He's like, don't make that audible. Like, does he just
he has
go?
Total control of his movies.
I know, but like, does he like just go in and be like, don't?
He's an artsy fartsy bastard.
Like muffle that to so much shit that you can barely understand.
It's realistic, man.
It's not realistic.
It is realistic, but it's a movie, and I need to know what these.
There's
people are
also a
fucking saying.
scene where they're on the boat and they're talking through a microphone, and it sounds like they're talking through a microphone on a boat.
Yeah, they did that intentionally.
I know they did, but like it was hard to understand.
It's like whenever you see people like in movies in helicopters and they're talking.
I
it's always
understand
through
that,
the mic.
but I'd rather understand what they're saying than to be realistic. I don't know how they did a lot of these visuals, honestly.
It reminded me of when I saw Doctor Strange, and towards the end, I've told you before when we talk about Doctor Strange, like the ending of that movie when everything's like going in reverse, but they're going. I'm like, how the fuck did they like put this together? How the fuck did they write this? Like, if anybody else tried to even remotely write anything like this or put it together, it would be utter nonsense.
The only two people that have done it well is Scott Derrickson and Nolan.
Yeah.
But Derrickson only did it for what?
He did it
minutes?
for maybe like 5-10 minutes.
Nolan did it for
the
a movie.
whole fucking movie for 2.5 hours. It's just insane.
Mind-boggling. Like I can't even put it to words like how to explain what was going on because some of the stuff I probably still don't understand what the hell was going on. So.
And a lot of it, like, and I love how he just throws you into it. Because like right off the bat, there's already
there's no explanation. It's just boom.
We get it. We do eventually get an explanation of like what Tenet is and everything, but like,
you kind of
the start of the movie, it's just there's.
I was going to say you find out as John David Washington's finding out because even towards the end he starts saying stuff and
he's still kind of figuring.
And the guy's like, you're not thinking like how your stuff is reversed and forward,
which is kind of fun that we're like the audience is on the same page as John David Washington. That's really fun. I enjoy that stuff.
Like again, I don't know how much was CG. I'm sure a lot.
I'm sure there was quite a bit.
But I don't know if they just stitched things together to make it look like they were going, or if like they actually had trained actors that were moving.
I'm sure for some of it, like when we get into spoilers, there's a particular fight scene that I'm sure that they had to do that practically.
Right.
And like they actually had to move in reverse and forward at the same time. And like I don't know how the fuck they did that. Because that must have taken like 5 days to shoot.
Right. I don't know. I still don't know. I have no idea.
What do you think about the cinematography?
This wasn't Nolan's best cinematography, I'd say, but it was good. But out of all of the movies I've seen, it wasn't his best. Dunkirk had some amazing cinematography, and I'd say Interstellar had some great cinematography. And I don't think this was anywhere close to that level of like beautiful shots. And there were a couple. I'm like, that's a gorgeous.
There was
shot.
a couple, especially one towards the end where they're in that like desert place.
That's exactly what I was
like,
thinking.
That's a fucking great.
Exactly what I was thinking.
It's well shot and it looks good, but there's not a lot of points where I'm like, fuck, that is a gorgeous shot. Like the way it's composed.
Yeah, I don't think that's
like,
needed
not a lot of
because
shot composition.
You're not thinking this isn't a movie where like
you're
taking in taking in the beauty aspect like Interstellar.
This is a big summer blockbuster.
But it's more about the story, honestly. Like
which is fine.
He's focusing in on that.
Not every movie has to be fucking amazing to look at. Memento looks like fucking ass.
Like Interstellar is a movie where you're supposed to be taking in the visuals. Yeah. And same with Inception almost. Inception is you're taking in the CG and the visuals and all that. Is there anything else you want to talk about or do you want to get into spoilers?
Not really. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say this is necessarily Nolan's best. I'd say it's probably like mid-ground
for
Nolan.
Me.
Like I had a great time with it, but there's still it's definitely a movie that you have to watch a couple times before you fully understand it. And I think that Nolan has he's got movies that you can just watch one time and it's like an awesome experience and you can just get it. And those are better movies. This isn't a bad movie by any fucking means. It's a great movie and it's a great summer blockbuster. And I love how Nolan is like the only person who's making like smart blockbusters, which is weird. But I had a great time with it. I enjoyed it.
It's not my favorite Nolan movie, but I think it's up there for me, honestly.
No.
But I haven't seen all of his films, so.
The ones you've seen, though,
I think it's not the worst. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. It's somewhere in between. And I think I have a ranking in my head, and I'll say it towards the end. But
I think that's how most people kind of are feeling about this movie. Where like it's not like his top tier. Like fuck, this is the best. He reinvented the genre. But like it's really good and it's really entertaining.
So you want to get into spoilers?
Spoilers, go.
All right. Well, what do we want to talk about first?
What do you
literally throughout the.
We can talk about anything in the movie.
So. Let's talk about just the mind fuck of going backwards in time. How much of that did you actually understand?
None of it, because I'm a dumbass, and I don't understand most things. But time travel is the most confusing thing on the planet.
And it's honestly
it's not even technically time travel.
It's not. It's just going in reverse.
It has to do with time, but it's more of warping time than it is time travel.
And I feel like doing a time type movie is one of the hardest movies to do because you have to think about every little thing and how it would affect other things and stuff like that. And I think this movie does a fantastic job of tying in things from earlier in the movie, later on in the movie, and it does a great job. Like you said, we're thrown right into it. There is a time inversion right at the beginning.
Right at literally right at the start. That whole scene was great, and I love that Nolan's like doing that now, where like all of his movies just have like an opening scene that's shot in IMAX, and it's like this big opening like scene. But that whole scene I was confused by. Because, like, I don't know what's going on.
I think I kind of understand.
I don't know who that guy is.
What I think I kind of understand what was going on. So, that guy, they even said in the movie that was the wrong guy. They were actually going after the main bad guy throughout the film. Because remember, later on in the film, he goes...
Oh, Kenneth Branagh?
Yeah, he goes, you remember the opera? And, like, when they're sitting at the table...
Yeah, I thought that was going to tie back into...
I think he was supposed to be going after Kenneth Branagh. But, they got the wrong dude type thing. And his own, the inversion guy was one of his dudes, like, protecting Kenneth Branagh.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think that's what it was.
I was wondering why that guy held a gun up to John David Washington.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so that makes a little more
sense. If I'm right. I have no idea.
I'm glad I have you here to explain movies to me, because I did not understand that at all.
It literally just started clicking. I was like, okay, the opera. And I was like, okay, it's turning, gears turning.
That makes sense.
Again, I don't know if that's true. I could be just reading too much into it.
We need to ask Christopher Nolan.
Where's he at? Get him, Skype him right now.
I'm gonna hit his ass up on Twitter and be like, yo, what the fuck happened?
You want to be on our podcast to explain your movie?
To be on our dumb podcast to explain your movie.
He's gonna be like,
no,
if you didn't understand it, it's your own fault.
You're a dumbass, yeah.
And they don't just say like, oh, it's inversion. They kind of explain it with real science, which I don't know if he...
Did they?
They like said the entropy and all that stuff.
That shit I don't understand, because they were using a lot of big words, and I'm like, I'm not a science guy.
So basically,
it's time
I'll try to explain it for you and for people at home if they didn't understand. Okay. Entropy is
smart guy over here.
Entropy, I don't completely understand.
Fucking Einstein over here, all right?
I understand bits of it. Entropy is the measure of how much energy something has. Basically, the more entropy you have, the more energy you have. So something in motion has more entropy than something that's staying still. They reverse the entropy, which I don't even know if that's possible. It kind of makes sense in film terms, but...
I mean, maybe it's possible. We don't know.
Maybe. I have no idea. I've never heard of anybody trying to inverse entropy.
Because it's a secret.
So basically, I guess there is a flow of entropy, which I don't know if is true. So there's a forward flow, and I guess they reverse it as a reverse flow. So when something is still... it has zero entropy almost. That's why when you invert it, it doesn't do anything, because it has zero entropy no matter what. But when you reverse it, it'll start going the opposite direction of what it was supposed to. I think that's what the physics they were trying to say of it. But again, it doesn't make much sense, because I don't know if you can reverse it.
I mean, I think that Nolan really shouldn't have explained anything of it. I
don't think he really wanted to, but he just kind of threw it in there for people like me that are like, why is this happening?
Because he tends to do that. Like, he did that in Inception, where he tried to, like, somewhat ground that whole, like, dream thing in reality.
He did that with Interstellar, too.
And he did that in Interstellar, but that was, like, a big thing with Interstellar, was that we're going to use real science to, like, tell the story.
Right.
I think with this, like, this could have just been a little bit more of just, like, here's a sci-fi world. Like, we don't have to...
I have no idea how that machine works, though, that they use to, like, invert stuff.
I don't either, and they didn't explain that, and I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it.
Because it's a fucking movie.
But I think he threw that in there for the freaks like me. They're like, how does this fucking work?
The science nerds.
Yeah. But,
I don't know, even they explained it. They had a whole, like, 10-minute span where they just explained it, and I still didn't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think...
And I love how John David Washington's character doesn't fucking understand
he's
it
like...
either. He's like, what the fuck?
He's like shooting the gun, and he's like, why does this feel so weird?
Yeah, he's like, why is it, like, what is this? What's happening right now?
And that science lady, I guess, wasn't important at all. She was just there for exposition at the beginning. Anyways.
She's exposition science lady.
Expedition whatever.
That's what her character's name is listed under in IMDb.
Does she even have a name?
Her name is Exposition Science Lady.
Who was the guy who introduced him to Tenet? I recognized him.
He's been in some other Nolan movies.
I was gonna say
Michael Douglas punched his ass in the face.
That's
at the
what I
beginning
remember
of Ant-Man.
Easy, Hank.
I recognized him from
He was
somewhere.
the dickhead in Ant-Man.
Yeah.
But he was in Insomnia. And I think he was in something else. But he's Nolan. I think him and Nolan like go way back, and they're like buddies or whatever.
He was barely in the middle in the
But
movie.
that guy's a good actor.
He was barely in the movie.
I like him.
He's in
He's
5
in one
minutes.
scene, yeah.
He's exposition dump, and then he's out.
Exposition Superman.
No one likes to do that. So
He's related to Exposition Science Lady.
But later on, we get introduced to Robert Pattinson, which he just kind of just shows up.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, I
So
need.
where John David Washington sits down, and then Robert Pattinson sits down. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll take a drink," and he'll take a Coke.
Did he say Diet Coke?
Diet Coke. I'm like, no, fuck you. Nobody drinks Diet Coke.
He wanted soda water, which is disgusting. And did you know? Did you have any inkling that Robert Pattinson was a double agent? Not a double agent, but he like was in on it throughout the thing. I didn't either. I thought I would catch that, but like they did a great job of disguising that.
Yeah. And he really wasn't.
No, he wasn't a double agent, but like he knew about Tenet before.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
But we didn't bring this up in the non-spoiler review. Fucking Kick-Ass shows up, like the beginning of the third act, and I was like, "Whoa, holy shit, it's Kick-Ass!"
Yeah.
And then he turns out to be sort of a double agent, sort of.
No,
Not really, but
not really.
He is about to kill him, and then he's like, "Oh, whatever."
I don't think he was a double agent. It was more of like everybody was like, okay, we've never seen anybody walk out in reverse, so one of it. He thought that he had to kill him, but he's like, nah.
He's like,
everybody just go hide your pieces like the Infinity Stones or whatever. But I'm trying to think, what big thing happened in the middle? There's something big that happened.
That car chase happened in the middle.
Oh yeah,
They had to steal the plutonium.
I still don't know how they filmed that either.
That was a great scene. This movie has a lot of awesome set pieces. That like, I'm glad we saw this in IMAX, because I'm sure it would have looked great in a normal theater, but we got the full of it, like the sound, everything was loud, a big ass fucking screen. It was like full screen and everything was. I was like, fuck, this is awesome.
How did you feel about the car chase? I thought
The car chase was awesome.
I think honestly the best part of the car chase was the truck thing and like just smashing those trucks and not letting them get out. That was just cool to me. I don't know why.
Pretty cool.
I was like, it's a genius plan. I don't know if it'd work in real life. But
Probably wouldn't.
But it was cool.
My favorite part of the car chase actually comes like later on in the movie when John David Washington first goes inverse and he gets in that car. And the moment he got in that car, I was like, "Fuck!" He was the car that like was in that car chase.
As soon as I told you, as soon as
And I was like, "Fucking A, man!"
soon as they inverse themselves,
That's so cool.
and then that lady started explaining all the stuff that could happen. I was like, it was him. He
And
did
I
everything.
love how that stuff isn't obvious, because usually when you have stuff like that in a movie, you're like, "Oh, that's probably John David Washington,"
Right.
or "Oh, that's probably." But like the whole time, I wasn't like when we first saw that car, I wasn't like, "Oh, that's him."
Nah, yeah.
I was like, "Okay, that's probably gonna come back into play," or that's probably because it was. I thought that car was there so they could have like when he throws it, it could be like a midpoint because it kind of bounces off, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of fun." But then it turns out like no, that was him coming back and witnessing all this stuff. I was like, "That's fucking really cool."
I love when I keep forgetting his name, the bad guy.
Kenneth Branagh, the director of Thor.
Kenneth, the angle guy, whatever.
The angle guy.
He shot Thor all in,
Oh, the Dutch angle.
Yeah, the Dutch angle.
Yeah.
I love it when he sees the reverse flow.
Yeah, he's like, fuck.
He was like, what?
Yeah, there was just like a 1 second shot where he's like, what the fuck?
Right.
It was great.
It was.
I love the physics of them being inverse. They show it like really well. Like he's moving like slower because the wind's pushing up against him. And I noticed when he opened the door, it was harder to do because the door is pushing out. But he's like when he gets in it, he's trying to pull it, but the door would technically be pushed out.
Right.
So it was like the physics work, and I was like, that's cool as fuck.
Also, him driving, he was struggling to drive.
Yeah, I was like, that's some nerdy Nolan shit that like Nolan would do that. He's really good at detail.
But the reverse portion of the plane thing, that was my favorite part of the entire movie.
Really cool.
I don't know why. Just watching everything in reverse and just seeing the satisfactory of it being in reverse again,
Right.
like it was great.
It was so fun.
Also, I love how he kind of fought both himself and Robert Pattinson, which I thought that was great. In the reverse thing, when he gets reversed and he goes forward in time, and Robert Pattinson's like chasing him. Denzel has, or not Denzel.
You're doing it now.
John-
He sounds a lot like Denzel.
John David Washington. He runs kind of weird, but I like it. I like how he runs.
I mean, I think that most of that was due to the fact that he was inverted.
No, like
he
it
was
part,
running against
there's
the
parts
wind.
where he's running forward. And
I didn't notice that.
But like, it looks like he's like running for his life, and I'm like, that's how
I'm
you
sure
should
he
run.
would, because he's like, fuck, I'm gonna die.
Like that.
Yeah, he doesn't have a Tom Cruise run. He's got a real.
He doesn't have the perfect stride.
Yeah,
he's got like the
form. He's like
throwing,
he's
throwing
got that
his
Ezra
arms.
Miller fucking run.
Nah, Ezra Miller has a terrible run.
The dumbass like. Oh,
John David Washington has. It's not a weird run. It's a run.
It's a normal run.
It's a run that I would do if somebody was trying to kill me in real life.
Yeah, it's a.
I wouldn't do the Tom Cruise run. I'd be like,
Yeah.
like throwing my body.
Because the
into
Tom Cruise run is a movie run.
Right.
You can't actually run like that for very long.
it. Tom Cruise would run like that if somebody was chasing
He does
him.
run like that,
Exactly.
but he's also a fucking nut.
Where's this rank for you?
I'd say like out of all, because we have all the Nolan movies. Not all of them. I don't have Dunkirk. I will at some point, but I think out of like all of his movies, Prestige, like outside of The Dark Knight, because obviously that's number one. That's his best film.
Are you counting The Dark Knight as a one thing, or like all three of them one
No,
thing?
The Dark Knight.
Okay, The
Dark Knight is his best movie.
Okay.
Out of, like next to that, I'd say The Prestige is probably his best non like Batman shit. I'd say this would probably fall more. I'd say this would probably fall for me more around the Inception range, where it's like it's really good, but it's more about like the spectacle and the set pieces, and it's more of a blockbuster. It is a very smart blockbuster, and it does talk about all these themes and everything about reality and all this shit. But it's like The Prestige isn't a blockbuster. It's more of like a character piece about these two magicians who are just fucking dicks, and it's a really like dramatic and dark fucking movie. And like Memento is a small little thing, Insomnia is a small little thing. It's more along the lines of Interstellar and Inception for me, where like it's really good, but it's not his best. It's more mid-ground Chris Nolan.
I think I rank it third in my list of movies that I've seen.
Which one's your best?
I would put The Dark Knight number one.
Okay.
Then you may hate me for putting Interstellar a second, but I love
I don't
Interstellar.
give a shit.
And then I think I'd put Tenet a third.
That's fair. I mean, you've only seen like 4 of his movies, right?
I've seen 1, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh shit. I've seen most of them then.
I've seen Interstellar, The Dark Knight trilogy, so that's 4. Inception, Dunkirk, and Tenet. Yeah, 7.
Shit, you gotta watch the other ones.
I just haven't seen Prestige, Insomnia, Memento, and whatever that is.
Follow. You might as well watch those then.
But I think it's third. Out of 7, it's third.
That's fine.
Dunkirk would be last.
Dunkirk is last for me too.
Not that that's a bad film. It's just
It's not a bad film. It's just like barely a movie.
It's not something that I'd enjoy.
Because this movie started off kind of that same way, where I was like, there's not really much of a plot going on, and I'm not like super into it. But then it started to like even out. I was like, oh, this is like a real movie.
Yeah, I loved it. I love this film.
I thought it was really good, and I can't wait
I
to
think-
get it on Blu-ray.
I think some people won't like it because I don't think some people may not understand it that well.
I think because when we walked out, the couple in front of us,
They were old, though.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't mean they're dumb. He was saying like, it was good, but like I'll probably have to watch it a couple more times before I fully understand what's going on. I'm in the same camp, and I'm not old.
I don't think I needed to. Maybe just for the end to see if it's like a true loop or not. To see if I catch something.
I want to rewatch it just to go back and now that I know what happens, I
Yeah.
want to go back and watch it from the start and be like, oh, that ties into that because they did that at the end and that kind of reference. Like I want to see all the little small details and how they connect it.
But I don't think I need to rewatch it again to understand the story because I think I understand what happened.
You think you understand?
But you never know. I could be wrong.
You could be totally fucking.
And I don't want to change it though because I like what
Maybe the
happened.
movie's about orange juice.
It's not. It's not about orange juice.
You
I
don't
know
know.
that.
You
I
don't
know
know.
that for a fact.
You know, it could be.
Could be about Black Lives Matter. We never know.
Oh, it definitely is. That's why the lead in the movie's black.
And he wears a mask because it's 2020.
Hell yeah, Corona.
Corona.
It's all symbolism.
It's all life imitating art or whatever.
This reversing the flow of time doesn't us being here now mean it never happened. You want to crash a plane?
But not from the air. No, it's so dramatic.
Well, how big a plane?
That part is a little dramatic.